Here we go. It's all over. All the waiting, all the speculating. The guessing time is done. We're going to do it as promised. We're going to roll out the season for the greatest bass anglers on the face of the earth. The locations and the times when they will compete in the 2018 season. I'm Tommy Sanders. Welcome to the Toyota Bassmaster Studios. We have got a big show getting ready to roll for you right now, including visits with some of the anglers that know all these places all too well. We'll examine each spot, give you some context. It's so great to have you with us. Stay with us. It will be an exciting time. Exciting to have Ronnie Moore in the studio here. And Ronnie, we had two events before the Bassmaster Classic in 2017. 2018, we're going to keep that up. One event before the Classic, and we're going to, hard to believe, a place where the elites have not been in the state of Alabama.
The state of Alabama, you think about the Tennessee River often, Tommy. You think about Smith Lake, fisheries like that. But the Elite Series has never been to Lake Martin, over in Alexander City, just 70 miles southeast of Birmingham. So just over an hour and a half, roughly, from Birmingham. These anglers will fish Lake Martin. Lake Martin, one of the oldest fisheries, man-made fisheries in the country. Back in 1926, they dammed up the Tallapoosa River, made Lake Martin, and at that time, it was the biggest man-made fishery in the whole entire world.
A lot of boat docks. As you say, it's a very mature lake. It's a busy place, but it can be very, very productive, right?
It'll be awesome to see how these anglers attack it. 750 miles of wooded shoreline, docks, as you said. Brush piles should play a factor this week. As we saw back in 2016, the most recent stop that we've had at Lake Martin, we had a Carhartt Bassmaster College Series Southern Regional, the biggest Southern Regional we've ever had, over 200 boats. And those guys battled it out early February, and we saw a largemouth play factor. We saw spotted bass. 12 to 15 pounds a day was good. The big X factor was getting that largemouth bite in early February. So these anglers, 110, 108, the greatest anglers in the world, the Elite Series, they will figure it out for sure at Lake Martin. And it'll be interesting to see how much cover plays into factor and what areas really produce.
And you say early February, that's when they'll be there, February 8th through the 11th. As we know, in Alabama, that part of Alabama, just sort of north and east of Montgomery, it could be freezing cold. It could be 10 degrees or it could be 60 degrees, right?
It could be. We saw fluctuating temperatures for that college regional in 2016. But remember, Tommy, we have never been here for the Elite Series. But we have visited here back in the day when we had the top 100 events. We had the invitationals back in the early 90s and the late 90s. A lot of guys have fished here. We've had events in every month, basically, at Lake Martin. So February shouldn't be uncommon. There should be some research the anglers could put into it because we have had some higher level tournaments there back in the past.
All right, Martin, to kick it off. Thanks, Ronnie. Well, once Lake Martin is done, we are off and rolling with the 2018 Bassmaster Elite Series season. And then just as quick as that, we kind of have to change our attitude, switch things up a little bit, a little different lineup and a whole new mindset, because then comes the World Championship of Bass Fishing, the Geico Bassmaster Classic. And this part, the location, well, this is the part of our show that's already common knowledge because everyone knows, who's been paying attention, and that's most of you, that we're going back to South Carolina, Greenville, South Carolina, and a place that we've held a classic back in 2008 and 2015. That's Lake Hartwell on the Savannah and Tougaloo Rivers there. And for a rundown on that, well, let's go to this integral member of our team here for Bassmaster Television, the one and only classic champ, Davey. Hi, Davey. Good to see you here. Man, is it going to be, let me ask you this first. Casey Ashley was right in the middle of a new trend that was started and it was broken this year of local guys winning the Classic. Can a local guy win this Classic again, and who's it going to be?
Well, I certainly wouldn't bet against Casey Ashley. He knows that fishery really, really well, and no matter what the conditions, it was extremely cold last time, as everyone remembers it was there. But that was unusual. But Casey has fished there a lot. His dad has fished there a lot, with the two of them fishing there growing up. So it'd be hard to bet against Casey, that's for sure.
Well, let's talk about what the fishing's going to be like. Now, we will be there actually a month later than we were there in 2008 and 2015 when it was so very cold. Is that going to make a different mindset for these anglers trying to win a Classic?
Well, Tommy, you're right. It's a month later, and that will certainly help our chances for it to be good weather. But that was unusually cold weather that week, even for it being as early as it was. So I don't expect, you never know, Mother Nature is in control, but I don't expect the temperatures to be nearly as cold. But it could certainly be similar, or it could be some sight fishing. And when I say that, and people remember the last time we were there, how could you even consider that there could be some sight fishing going on? But if we have a mild winter and those temperatures warm up a little bit, there could be a lot of things going on very similar to Conroe.
like so many of our venues as we roll out 2018. Places, lakes are up. Some years they're down. Other years, what kind of versus the norm? Where is our lake at right now, Hartwell?
Well, it's a good lake. It's not our best lake in South Carolina right now, and these things cycle from time to time. But Lake Hartwell is a good lake, and it will be a very good classic, and it'll take heavy weights to win no matter what. With the tough conditions we had, Casey Ashley still had to catch about 17 pounds a day to be able to win that thing. And like I said, it'll be very interesting to see if Casey Ashley can hang on and be able to win 2 classics there.
Yeah, well, we're looking forward to it. Like you say, great crowds right there. And stick with us, Davey, as we talk about when we get back to the elite season right after the Classic, another place where we get fantastic crowds. And we've been there a couple of times already, and that is the Sabine River as it distributes out into the Gulf through Sabine Lake, the Sabine which heads up in Texas and follows the border between Texas and Louisiana, a vast fishery with all sorts of ponds and canals and sloughs and everything like that. A really different look. And Davey, we had Chris Lane doing it last time, but that was at the last minute. He pulled that off. This is one that kind of lends itself to some last minute heroics. If you can stay in the game for 4 days, you got a shot at winning this one, right?
You really do, and that's the neat thing about the Sabine River. You hit the nail on the head, Tommy. They have set the bar for crowds coming to the weigh-ins and the festivities they put on, and they really throw a lot into that tournament being there, and you always appreciate that. Sure, we like going to bodies of water like Rayburn, not too far up the road, where you catch big fish, but the tournaments are all set up, and for all my years fishing the tournaments, you don't have to catch 100 pounds, you just have to catch more than anyone else. So it's really one of those events to kick off the season on the Elite Series that will be so interesting to see what guys do and the strategies that they have and what pays off and what doesn't. And the weather will always be a factor there. If you get a guy doing something like Mike McClellan did, we saw a couple of those guys. I remember Jeff Creed. He looked like he had seen a ghost when he came in that day, because obviously it can get very rough.
Davey, thank you so much. I can't wait for the next stop on the Bassmaster Elite Series when we get to hook up and work together again. The great Davey Hyde, Classic champion, Toyota Bassmaster Angler of the Year, getting us all checked out on Hartwell and the Sabine River. Well, here we go. Stop number 3, Bassmaster Elite Series 2018. The host city, Grove, Oklahoma. That ought to be a clue for you. Oh, yes, we're going back to Grand Lake, a scene of so many great moments, great days, great tournaments in Bassmaster Elite Series history. Mike McClellan with the biggest winning margin ever in the Elite Series, a win by Kevin Van Dam, so much more. Cliff Pace wins a Classic there in 2013, but the all-time greatest day ever on Grand Lake, there's no question about it. The final day of the Classic 2016, Edwin Evers just coming from behind and knocking out the rest of the field up there in the Elk River. And to talk about Grand Lake, let's bring on our special guest today. Oh, surprise, he's fishing today. It's the one and only Edwin Evers. Edwin, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, now, good luck having a greater day than you had that final day of the Classic 2016. I don't think anybody's ever going to beat that.
What a special day, and it's not, I'm speechless talking about that day, 29 pounds, and we're getting to go back there in April. Man, I'm excited to hear we're going to Grand. How about that? I don't think we've ever been there in April. We've been, there in March and February and June, but now April. That's probably the best month we could possibly ever ask for on Grand Lake. There's so many things going on. It'll fish huge. I'm super excited to have one here in Oklahoma.
All right. Well, always the thing about Grand Lake, people say, this is a lake where you can find a pattern, put your head down, and fish it all over the lake. Is that what it'll be like then in April?
Without a doubt. The lake will fish as big as it will have ever been. And, it's not going to be a particular spot that fish are funneling in or out of. It's going to be a deal. You're running a pattern, catching a couple here, a couple there. Probably shoreline oriented for the most part. Power fishing 101. It's going to be really good.
Now, we know that compared to 10 years ago, back in Bass Virus days, Grand Lake is just fantastic. But where is it as far as the overall curve goes? Still in great shape?
As good as it's ever been. It's in excellent shape. It's just done nothing but got better every year since that virus. So it's going to be really, really good. The lake's as healthy as it can be. They've had good spawns. We've had water up in the willows the last couple springs. it's going to be really good.
All right, Edwin, thank you so much. We'll be with you if you go check that little hole in the Elk River. Now, stick around a little bit because I think we may be coming to you in just a few seconds here because we're going to go on to stop number 4 Bassmaster Elite Series. Giant 150,000 acres of Kentucky and Barkley Lake there, Tennessee. And we're going to be in Paris, Tennessee. That's going to be the host city. And what great moments. Kevin Van Dam been so dominant there through the years, but the guy who dominated the last time we were on Kentucky Lake, it was Bass Fest. Edwin Evers knocking him out there, including a giant fish. And so let's get back to Edwin out there. And you got to be tickled with the next stop. I mean, you got Grand, then you got Kentucky Lake.
Heck yeah, that was another great day for me. That final day when I caught that giant fish, right there at the very end. That was really a game changer. Really put me over the top. A huge lake. You got 160,000 acres in Kentucky Lake and another 80,000 acres or whatever it is over there at Barkley. And in May, the first week of May, wow, you better bring your big boy pants when we go to fish that event because you're going to have to catch them.
Yeah, that's one everybody's going to be looking forward to, and everybody who's a fishing fan thinks Kentucky Lake, summertime almost, everybody's going to be out on those ledges flinging out there, and that's where it'll be won. But is it going to be kind of a half and half, back over shallow and some out deeper?
There could definitely be some out deeper, but I would think the majority of those bass are going to be, in and around where they spawned. That's a month earlier than when that ledge fishing really kicks off. So, I don't know exactly when they bring that lake up and when that lake goes, they bring it up in the spring. So those fish tend to kind of wait on that influx of water. I'd have to think, it's going to be a shallow bank beating, covering water slugfest.
All right, we remember your performance there. Some great memories for you, I'm sure. Your start of a back-to-back wind skiing there, so it's got to be a good thing. Edwin, thank you so much. We'll let you get back to the fishing and the research there.
Hey, thanks for having me, Tommy.
When they wrap it up at Kentucky Lake, that's going to be the midway point of the season. That's been an important time for the Bassmaster Elites for the past, several years. Of course, we had Bass Fest for 3 or 4 years, which that morphed in this past season to the Toyota Bassmaster Texas Fest. Had a bang-up event there on Sam Rayburn. We're looking forward to another such tournament at the MidSeason Point in 2018. We don't have that name. We don't have that selection to preview for you today. That's still being considered, but we can think of a lot of great places, right?
There are, Tommy, a lot of places in the state of Texas that we could take this event. Lake Travis, one of the first options that we have on the list, right there near Austin, Texas, right in the center of the state. Lake Travis has something interesting. We probably have never fished a Bassmaster Elite Series event where you can weigh in Guadalupe bass, but they have largemouth and Guadalupes. They've got numerous types of fishing that you can do there. You can go offshore, you can fish shallow, a lot of bluff walls as well.
All right. What about Rayburn? We had a great tournament there. Kevin Van Dam says it may be the best in the world right now.
You can't say enough about Sam Rayburn. The amount of fish that we saw there this past year in Texas Fest was outstanding. With the catch, weigh, release format, we saw how successful it was. The guys were able to get to their fishing spot, catch fish, release them, and keep going, not have to worry about fishing the live wells. So Sam Rayburn, no one would be upset if we went back there again.
Lake Conroe's a great place, but Ronnie, tell us why that's probably a long shot.
Conroe would be a very tough event to hold an Elite Series event. Over 100 guys, the boat pressure, the spectators, that's a very popular area. In mid-May, there would be a lot of boat traffic out there, and we saw at the Classic when the water splashes against those seawalls at Lake Conroe, it can get really, really rough. Not to mention if there's any wind or anything like that. The lake's got plenty of big fish. It would be an awesome place to have an Elite Series event, but with the size of it, it would probably get really crowded, and it could just make the fishing tougher instead of showcasing how great of a fishery it is.
Lake Amistad, where the Elite Series got its start, and we understand it is back. It has roared back to life. That's a good candidate.
Lake Amistad would be an awesome place to have the Elite Series event. We haven't had an Elite there since 2009. Like you said, we started in 2006 there, and we fished there all 4 years, the first 4 years of the Elite Series. Haven't been back for the Elite Series level since 2009. That place, like we said about other fisheries, a lot of pressure, a lot of recognition goes to other fisheries, so others get less pressure and have a chance to kind of revitalize and get the fishing back going. Amistad's one of those great candidates that is going to be producing some big fish.
Another place that gets a lot of pressure and still kicks them out, that would be Lake Fork.
Lake Fork is an awesome spectacle. You can see some amazing aerials of giant fields of standing timber. Tommy, you could probably flip bushes all day long and catch a giant bag of fish, or you could sit off on an offshore spot in mid-May and be able to catch just as much weight. So Fork is very dynamic in how big the fish are, but not to mention how many things you can do there.
Well, we're going to talk about big Texas bass. Let's just cut to the chase. Talk about Falcon Lake down there on the border where the record is held, where the record was set.
We've got some great memories down there. Keith Combs winning, beating Rick Clunn in that extra day event. Paul Elias setting the heavyweight record of bass fishing, over 130 pounds of fish. We haven't been to Falcon in a couple years. That place hasn't gotten that much attention. It used to be the best bass lake in the country according to everyone. Well, with the pressure off of it, there's no doubt that Falcon would probably produce mid-May 100 plus of the best Elite Series anglers in the world.
Well, that being said, we don't know exactly where we'll be coming from, but we do know where we'll be going in our 2018 season for the Bassmaster Elite Series. After mid-season right there, we're going to head to a favorite spot, Pool 6, 7, and 8 on the upper Mississippi River, La Crosse, Wisconsin. We have had some great tournaments up there. We had Ott Defo with a great victory to wind up the season in 2016 up there at the Onalaska Spillway. There's a unique sort of experience there, and we're looking forward to some great stuff there. Let's welcome into our program here an essential member of Bassmaster TV. Our hero, Mark Zona, is going to join us and talk about Wisconsin and the upper Mississippi. Z, thanks for making a little time for us today.
Tommy, as always, and I think it's fair to say one of the interesting things every single time that we go to the Mississippi River is there are always close events. And really in all the tournaments that we've covered together, getting past that 3-pound barrier, getting past that 3-pound average barrier always seems to be a challenge. Whether it's the first 2 days of the tournament or the last 2 days, the beautiful thing about that stretch of river, really there's a couple different things, is the tournaments are always really, really tight. And the other side of that is it's one of the true places, look, I hate to say it, and you might be covering this in a little bit. We talk about largemouth maybe playing a factor every time we go to the St. Lawrence River. They don't.
No,
they don't.
Okay.
Stay on, baby, stay on.
The going to the Mississippi River, at each species could win, smallmouth or largemouth, which always makes that a unique event.
When we talk about our regular sort of run-of-the-mill reservoirs, Texas, Oklahoma, places like that, they go up and down, every 5 years. But the upper Mississippi always seems to be good quality, right?
Yeah. Well, here's what, the one thing you get from the upper Mississippi, it's unbelievably fertile. Really, the entire, all the pools that we're able to fish, they are the best spawning habitat on planet Earth. The only thing that I guess if there's a positive, you can catch 50 to 100 a day. If there's a negative, you really, and Tommy, you got to admit this, you just don't see a lot of 4-pound fish, which is kind of typical for a lot of rivers throughout the Midwest, but it has the best number of 2 to 3 pounders on planet Earth.
Oh, they'll be catching a plenty of them. All right, that's June 21st through the 24th. These are going to be a back-to-back event, so hang with us here, Z, as we go to the second stop on the northern swing. We're going to take you to a place that definitely the Bassmaster Elite Series has never been before. Have you been there? Pierce, South Dakota, state capital of South Dakota. Now, how about the size of this lake? 370,000 acres and only 231 miles long. That's Lake Oahe on the Missouri River. Z, I mean, I don't know anybody who's ever been there, but I guess there's some good fishing, probably smallmouth fishing, you think?
I hate to say this, I have tapped into every resource that I have that potentially could have been there, and really the only guys that I've talked to, they're all walleye fishermen. There is enormous walleye tournaments on that body of water. It's one of the best walleye. Here's what I can tell you, Tom Sanders. I did myself some Google studying on Lake Oahe, and they're not scared to knock the side off of anything. Look, that's going to be a tournament that we're going to have to do some studying on, just because there is not a lot to find unless Ron Moore or the Such has some info for us.
All right. Well, it's on, as they say. We're going to do it. It's coming up in 2018. Thank you, Mark Zona. Great stuff. The first two stops on our Northern Swing 2018 Bassmaster Elite Series. Well, by the end of July, we'll be getting close to the end of the Bassmaster Elite Series season for 2018. We're going to a special place that only premiered for the Elite Series anglers a couple of years ago. So historically significant in our country's history, and making a little history there once again in 2018, the Chesapeake Bay for the Bassmaster Elite Series. And to help us break it down, well, how about a classic champ, a former Toyota Bassmaster Angler of the Year, and definitely one of the most influential people ever in the sport of fishing, the one and only Mike Iaconelli, coming to us from, it looks to me like the home of Ike Live, which is a special place in its own right. Maybe we'll talk about that a little bit later. But Ike, thanks so much for being with us today.
Oh, thanks for having me. This is exciting.
You know, when we were on the Delaware River, the event you won back in 2014, there were a lot of guys, club anglers from the Chesapeake over there, obviously watching it, and they said, hey, we understand you may be going to the Chesapeake. You are going to be impressed. And so we were the next year in 2015. That's a special place, and there's no other place like it that we fish, is there?
It's really unique. You know, when you talk about East Coast, Northeast tidal fisheries, it's really a standout. You know, it's a different animal. And as far as number of fish and size of fish, it is the premier tidal fishery up here in this part of the country. You know, Potomac, Delaware, Hudson, James, all those fisheries are amazing in their own right. But as far as pumping out sheer numbers of 3, 4, 5 pound fish, nothing beats the upper Chesapeake Bay.
And there's a lot of places, so many tributaries, as many as 150 I've read before, moving in there. So if you want to go and hide from everybody, you have that opportunity as well, right?
It's a really big fishery. You know, a lot of people, I think, are taken back by how big it is.
Yes.
It's huge. You know, from, you know, the flats itself, you can run 30, 40, 50 miles in either direction. You can run up tributaries. You can fish in the main body itself. It really does give you a lot of options. And as you saw the last tournament we were there, you know, guys are going to figure stuff out, and they're going to take chances. You're going to see guys make really big runs. You're going to see guys fish wood, grass, the very, very back of creeks where they can barely fit their boat, and everything in between. It's definitely, in my opinion, it's one of the most versatile tidal fisheries around.
No matter where we go, you get around the last part of July into the first part of August, and things pretty much start tightening up everywhere. Is that going to be the case on the Chesapeake?
Yeah, you know it is. You know, that time of the year really is right on the cusp of it getting super, super tough. For sure, August and September on the upper Chesapeake Bay are the absolute toughest times to fish there. So with us being there late July, you know, we're going to be right on the fringe of that. You know, the best times being, you know, June, early July. But in saying that, you know, guys are going to figure them out. You know, guys are going to figure out where those big fish are headed, you know, right before it gets tough. And I think you're going to see a possibility. And this is amazing for a tidal fishery in the Northeast. But you're going to see the possibility of a 20, 25, maybe even close to a 30-pound bag. That's going to happen nowhere else except the upper Chesapeake Bay.
That one's going to be fun. It's going to be big. The man himself, the one and only Mike Iaconelli, breaking it down for us. Stop number 8 on the Bassmaster Elite Series. And that will bring us to the final event of 2018 for the Bassmaster Elite Series, also the end of the Northern Swing, in a northern location that's proved to be very, very popular over the years. In fact, a lot of history in this place where the Great Lakes water flows out of Lake Ontario and out through the St. Lawrence River toward the Atlantic Ocean. That first 50 miles of that journey above the lake is what we're being concerned with in Waddington, New York, and the St. Lawrence River. So let's bring in someone who's got a great sense of history for the Bassmasters, that's for sure, and a great sense of great fishery. He's going to be the editor of Bassmaster Magazine, Mr. James Hall. James, have you got a minute for us today?
I do, Tommy. I appreciate the call.
Well, you know, when you say Thousand Islands, St. Lawrence River, you say a lot when it comes to hardcore bass fishing fans.
Oh, man, you know, yeah, not only is the fishing incredible there, but crazy easy on the eyes. And, you know, we just came out with the rankings of 100 best bass lakes in Bassmaster Magazine. And of all the events on the schedule this year, the St. Lawrence River in that Thousand Islands area ranked the highest at number 11 in the nation. So it's going to be wicked fun to watch.
And most of I mean, I think everybody, as much as any place on the tour this year and any year, they go to that place thinking, I don't care where I'm in the state. I got a shot at winning this because there's so many opportunities. As a matter of fact, Edwin Evers said, I know everybody thinks that, so I got to go someplace where I would never go in order to have a chance. And he made that pay off. But it's an equal opportunity, big opportunity place, right?
Yeah, it is, and it's fun. For fans especially, we're gonna see me sitting behind the computer if I'm not there. I don't get to see everybody catch fish all the time. But what's going to be probably most fun about it is right now, based on the data that we looked up for the 100 best Bass Lakes rankings, it's taking 25 pounds a day to win that thing. I mean, and those are one-day events. So I guess if it's going to depend on who can find a big wads of fish in multiple places. I don't know, but I know we're going to see some 25-pound stringers there, and that's going to be awesome.
All right. Well, that's going to wrap up our 2018. One quick question for you, though, James Hall. Do you ever have people call you up and say, please, James Hall, please do not put our lake in the top 100 list?
Yes, I had people begging me because Mille Lacs was our #1 lake this year based on a lot of the data, but especially that Angler of the Year event we had last year where we had like 94 limits over 20 pounds come across the scales. And, yeah, I had people from up north begging me not to put it as #1. But, with results like that, you can't help but doing it. So, yeah, I make a lot of people mad, but then there's a whole lot of other people that are super excited to go fish that time.
Yeah, a lot of people excited to get this issue each and every year. James Hall, thank you so much for everything.
Hey, thank you, Tommy.
And with that end of the Northern Swing, that's the end of the season, 2018 for the Bassmaster Elite Series. But hold on, we always have the postseason. Toyota Bassmaster Angler of the Year, top 50 qualifiers points-wise, going to slug it out at still an undisclosed location. So we're speculating at this point. Had a great event at Mille Lacs last year, opened a lot of people's eyes. So great that we're going back again here in 2017. But as to 2018, well, we just don't know yet. So for some informed speculation, Ronnie Moore, kick it in again. Where might it be in 2018?
Well, I bet you the Elite Series field would not be upset if we made it a third trip to Mille Lacs. We went there in 2016. Going there this year. If they win again, there would be no problem, no issue from the anglers, most likely. A great smallmouth fishery. In fact, the top lake in the list of top 100s. But the thing about the Angler of the Year Championship, Tommy, is that you have to have another smaller lake nearby so that we could do the top 8 classic bracket. For the first 8 guys to miss that classic cut line at the Angler of the Year Championship, those 8 can duke it out in a head-to-head format for the final classic spot, so to say. So wherever it is, it's got to be with another lake nearby.
But does it have to be up north, the postseason as a whole?
Well, we always think of, the ending the year with smallmouth up north, but we don't have a Florida event on the 2018 season. We normally always make a trip to the Sunshine State, so I wouldn't be surprised. This is just speculation, but if we put the Angler of the Year Championship down in Florida in late September, we would be able to do a bracket format on one of those great smaller fisheries nearby. There's a lot of different places that have 2 quality fisheries within a quick driving distance that the guys going from Angler of the Year Championship can fish that bracket the next week.
All right. Well, that will start the speculation all anew for what happens at the end of the season in 2018. We rolled out all the stops for the Bassmaster Elite Series, plus the Geico Bassmaster Classic, so we can all start making our plans right now. We'll see you next time at the next Bassmaster Elite Series stop.